So really what we're looking at is, what's going on behind our kids' eating habits. And the session today is really for you if you're concerned about your kids' eating habits. Perhaps if you have struggled with weight or body image, and you want to make a difference for your kids going forward. If perhaps you haven't been receiving the support that you feel that you really need, and of course, if relationships are really important to you. And really, if you're just done fighting over what's healthy and just feeling like you are on that repeat every single day about this is the healthy choice, perhaps you just don't want to teach your kids to diet. And you also want your kids to grow, which sounds like a silly thing to say. And yet there's so many messages that we are receiving over and over again in our society right now about how there's concerns about our kids' growth, that they need to stop growing. But you're like, no, I want my kids to grow. And so after this workshop class, whichever way you want to look at this today, you're going to be really clear about what's going on behind your kids' eating habits, why you're not seeing change with all those like traditional healthy habits types of tip sheets that are being given out from medical offices, or the things that you can download online from everyone, and also the three simple steps that will completely change your family's relationships. I don't take those words lightly by saying completely changing. I am a pediatrician. So, hi, Dr. Wendy Schofer. I am a pediatrician now in practice for 24 years, so well over the 20 at this point. I am a mom. I specialize in my practice in family emotional health and growth. And again, we're going to keep on bringing up that word growth. I highlight all of this because I am bringing really looking at evidence, like an evidence base, to how we are feeding and growing our families and what's working, what is not working. And definitely, this has been informed by that 20 plus years, 24 years now of being a practicing pediatrician, as well as being a mom, the things that I've gotten wrong. Okay, I am going to highlight that over and over again about mistakes have been made. And what I've really found is the shift that works not just for myself, not just for my family, but with my clients and my patients in the community as well. And so I've worked now with over 100 families to become healthier from the inside out through Family in Focus, which I founded. We're now in the fifth year with Family in Focus. So, a couple of things. We're going to be here somewhere around 45 to 60 minutes today. I highlight the chat box that is available. Feel free to kind of put in context just in case I don't see that question right away, just so that we know where it'll come back, and I will make sure that I answer everything at the end. There will be a replay available for a few days afterwards. And I will also be sharing details, like I mentioned, about Family in Focus at the end of our workshop. So I think I can kind of speak for everyone here. We all just want to know that our kids are going to be healthy. We want to know that our kids are going to be fine, that they're going to thrive. But also, you want to stop feeling like the bad cop. You see their eating habits, you want to shift them, you want to create change, and you're like, I feel like I'm always the one that's having to step in and just smash the party that's going on in the background. I'm crashing the party in the bad cop. You want more peace and calm and a plan that actually works. And of course, fewer meltdowns. And then, of course, wanting your children to feel confident in their bodies and to not seed disordered eating. In addition to, you want your kids to develop healthy relationships with their food, with their body, and let's not forget the most important one, with you. So many things of the guidance that we've been hearing, that we've been told to practice in our homes, is about, looking at our children's food and at their body. And meanwhile, it feels like we're pushing them away. It feels like there's, all these other things are getting in between the relationship that is so very important for us to share. And so, as parents, you're doing a lot, keeping this like kind of side eye on portions and on their exercise time and how often are they going to the pantry, what are they grabbing in there, which choices are they making, how long they're like just staring at themselves in the mirror. How often I hear about keeping an eye on shower times, what's going on in there. And so you're worried about, are they going down the same path that maybe this path that you see them traveling on? Maybe it's a fear of metabolic diagnoses. And of course, that concern about seeding eating disorders. Parents that I work with are really talking so much about the friction. The friction, like, I just don't want to be the bad cop anymore. I don't want to be the food police anymore. Why does it always have to be a fight? I'm just pooped. I'm over all of it and exhausted. And one of my clients recently said to me, she's like, Wendy, why can't it just be easy? When we were kids, like I've had some food stuff along the way, but still going back, it was just easy. Like it was just a meal. It was just dinner. That's all that was involved. And now there's so many layers on top of it. And then also hearing over and over again, I feel like I'm failing my kids. And I will take a quick diversion to say that, this is really where Family in Focus was born from. It's been, my goodness, like 10 years now, where I first met Emily and her mom in the office for a well visit. And Emily was coming in for her 6-year well visit. They had been in my practice, so I had all of her charts, but I did not know them. So I was meeting them for the first time, looked at her growth curves, looked at her vitals before I went into the office, and I saw that she had always been growing over that 85th percentile for her weight. And so if anybody's paying attention, we'd be, kind of saying that's in the diagnostic overweight category. I'm like, whatever, I just got some information, went on in, started asking about all the things about Emily, getting to know her, how she was interacting with her friends and with her family, how she was doing academically, the variety of foods in her diet, what she liked to do to move her body, how she slept, all the things. And it was like chef's kiss, like spot on. Everything was great. And so I, kind of finished up the visit, and I said, you're doing great. I'll see you back next year. And that's when her mom leaned into me and she said, when are you going to talk to me about her weight? And I said, what's the deal? What are your questions about her weight? And she said, you are the first doctor who has not led with, she's overweight. This is what you need to do to change, eat less and move more. And she said, I have been getting all of this information over the years about how I need to keep on changing. It's like, I'm exhausted. She's still growing. I'm failing Emily. And that was when it really hit me that, okay, what we're doing is not working. We are focusing on the wrong things. And so how can we really look at, first of all, how parents feel that we're failing our kids because of these plans that are just out there, these prescriptions for health and, for eating habits, for movement. It's like, this isn't working for our families. And so I really started looking at, well, why? Why is this not working? Why is this all of the, recommended approaches? And really, it's because we're trying to change our kids. We're trying to change their growth. We're trying to change their habits. We're trying to change and kind of like I'm picturing like grabbing on really tight to the steering wheel, like, I will change the direction that this is going. But we're trying to change people and patterns without understanding why they're there in the first place. Why is it that we eat the way that we do? Why is it that we're growing the way that we're growing? We can't change what we don't understand. And a lot of the current approach is just kind of like, well, we're just going to come in and say, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to change it without actually understanding what's actually going on behind the scenes. And so as I was looking at this more and more, I was like, okay, first of all, we're looking at children, then we're looking at their weight, and we're defining so much about their health and their, health status off of a number. And I was like, okay, hold on a minute. Let's actually go a little bit further upstream. We're actually looking at, what are the day-to-day activities that we're doing, our habits. And those habits are our behaviors. And the truth about kids' behaviors is that if you want to create healthy habits, we all want to, but we don't understand where they're actually coming from. The things that we do day in, day out, whether we want to label them as healthy or unhealthy, whatever it is, they all work for us. Every single thing. So I'm going to call out a habit that I have. Okay, ready? Facebook before bed. Okay, totally guilty. Totally guilty. You're like, oh, that's not healthy to be scrolling before bed. Totally got it. And yet, I can't just come in and say, I will not do this anymore. I have to understand, why is it that I'm doing that? How is that in some, devious kind of way, something that's working for me? And so let's start applying that to look at our kids' eating habits. Remembering again that we can't change what we don't understand. So many people will come up and say, well, hey, you just serve them what you want them to eat. Just serve the nutritious meals. These people are clearly not in the same household with our kids. Because our kids don't like what's being served. And then they go and they raid the pantry. Maybe you have a picky eater. And it's like, well, they're eating it maybe this week, but no, not next month. And then it's like off the radar for another couple of months. Will that food ever come back again? What's the deal? What's going on with those eating habits? Why are they so picky? I always bring out my magic wand because I just want to be able to like use that wand and be like, oh, okay, we're going to bring back all those foods again. What's going on with those eating habits? And then there's always the prescriptions, again, eat less, move more. Well, that's not helping our family. It's not understanding what's going on. It's just another prescription. So those healthy habits, guidelines, and plans just aren't fitting the family that's right in front of you. It's not addressing that they're prescribing the food that they just won't eat. The exercise that you're like, dude, I don't like doing that. And now I got to make my kids do that. And the fights that you're just tired of having over and over again. And, these approaches, like there's so many pieces of the guidance that just don't work. And perhaps you've seen that, that's your experience as well. These approaches haven't worked for you either. And so, really, what I've found over and over again is that the solution, okay, and I don't say this lightly, okay, the solution comes down to 4 simple words. You're like, well, how could it possibly be this easy? Well, no other approach that's out there starts with the foundation of understanding the emotions that are going on behind the behaviors. So, as we're looking at trying to understand our kids' eating habits, we need to look at their emotions. We need to look at our emotions. And you're like, whoa, this is new. What are you talking about? It's because emotional health creates the foundation for our habits, our relationships, and all aspects of our health. This is the most crucial, critical thing to understand as we are trying to come in. And again, we are like white knuckling it, trying to steer, trying to change behaviors, health status, people. If we're not understanding the emotions that are behind the scenes, we're just going to be holding on for dear life and trying to control it and feel like we're running out of control. Okay, so those 4 words, all feelings are welcome. I see some writing down happening right now, and I would like to say yes, because these are the words. All feelings are welcome. Let's talk about what that really means. Okay. I, for once in my life, am not wearing my emotions t-shirt. It is laundry day. So I am a walking billboard for emotions, including my t-shirts that have the wheel of emotions, the all feelings are welcome wheel. Talking about how we can welcome those. And here's the part, because our emotions are what make us so unique. Our emotions are what gives us so much color to our lives. And I don't use the word color lightly, because I think about how, we have the beautiful colors of the rainbow. Well, we have all the many different varieties, colors of emotions, and how that is really the opportunity for us to understand what's really going on. And so I will bring this up. We will come back to the all feelings are welcome wheel. But the emotions that are behind the behaviors, so behind the eating habits, they give us an understanding about why those things that are unhealthy, okay? And we can get into a full discussion about healthy versus unhealthy, but we all know what we're talking about. Why those things feel really, really, really good. Oh, okay, hold on a minute. Why it's so uncomfortable for us to create change, for us to actually shift, why it's so uncomfortable when I'm like going to bed and I'm like, I just want to scroll on Facebook. Okay, what is the emotion that's going on there? How is that scrolling actually scratching the itch of what's going on the inside? And the emotions behind the behaviors also explains why we are so frustrated and tired, both as parents, but also I'm going to offer our kids too. So, why haven't we been focusing on emotions? By the way, I'm just going to highlight something. One of the best places to ever do a photo shoot is in the middle of Kroger. It is so much fun. So, why haven't we been focusing on emotions? Well, they're uncomfortable. They are uncomfortable. There's ickiness. But that's also because everything that we do that we're not practiced with is uncomfortable. Everything that's new kind of feels a little bit like weird. Like when you try on like a new outfit and you're in the dressing room and you try it on, and you're like, oh, I don't know. You have to like check it out. You got to do some squats. You got to like prance a little bit to kind of say, oh, hold on a minute. I've gotten some practice with it. Maybe this is comfortable. Well, we haven't been doing that with our emotions, because I don't know about you, but I was raised that it was always something where there was a time and a place to feel emotions, and it was never here and never now. It was always somewhere else. And we've also been taught that being uncomfortable, feeling uncomfortable, means that there's something wrong. Well, go figure. We're pushing away our emotions because we think that there is something wrong that we feel this way. We think that there's something wrong with us. And so instead of thinking that there's something wrong with us, well, it's much easier to just come in and change the food. Let's, look at the portions. Let's look at the at what types of foods that we're serving. But this expert guidance that everybody's an expert in what we should be eating and how and when, and all of that, all of this expert guidance isn't actually changing how we eat. It's not actually changing it. We still have these eating habits, even though we've got all these different recommendations for what and how we should be doing it. Now, the other side is that so often I hear, I don't have the time for this. I do presentations with physicians about the role of emotional health in overall in nutrition and growth and development and family relationships. Let's talk about all the different ways that emotional health is involved. And there's always someone in the back of the room at the very end that says, this is all nice, but I don't have time for this. I don't have time to address this in the office. And yet, again, we don't have time because we think it's going to take forever because we haven't practiced this. We don't realize that it's something that's right in front of us, and how we actually save time and heartache by getting comfortable with emotions, practicing with emotional connection, actually creating connection. And the other thing that I always hear is it is not the right time. I don't have the bandwidth. It just is not the time right now to be able to, talk about emotions, whether that's right here and now while my kid is having a meltdown, not here now while we're, creating a meal, or just, in my life in general. And so I always ask, well, just stop. When will it be the right time? Just stop and take that moment. Even right now, if you're like, oh, this is not the right time for me. Okay, write down, when will it be the right time? And then the other thing that we have as we're talking about, looking at eating habits, as we're talking about emotions and that the role that emotions play, it's like, well, my insurance should cover this. This is something that's going to be covered there, right? Well, let's talk about what's different here about the conversation that we're having compared to what it is that is happening in the medical office. I'm just going to take a little tour through here. Okay. I know it's a little bit busy, but in the medical office, how often we're dealing with the constraints within those four walls. You know what? You might have, if you're lucky, 20 minutes with your physician. And there's going to be a lot of focus on numbers and what's being labeled as an ideal weight. You're going to have one appointment at a time for one person at a time. Going to have lots of measurements, and then there's going to be prescriptions and fixes. Or perhaps you're going to just hear, you know what, there's nothing going on here. Labs are normal. There's nothing else to do. And you leave and you're like, okay, this feels very dissatisfying. I feel like we're not actually addressing the concerns here. Or you're going to get the actual, guidance and input. And then you're like, this weight management stuff sure sounds like that's a diet. Am I teaching my kids how to diet? And so what we're really doing now is shifting to how it's a different type of conversation. It's a different type of conversation where we're focusing on what's going on in the whole family. So, family focused discussions. It's not about this person and that person, this child, and, they have particular eating needs and this one has a different eating needs. Okay, let's look at the whole family. Let's look at the environment and how emotions are driving our behaviors, our eating habits. Let's focus on what's unique, not just coming in and saying, eat less, move more, just serve more broccoli. Just serve it. They're going to eat it. Okay, well, what are you uniquely facing? And then creating connection relationships. And I'm going to come back to it again, how we want our families to grow. And so let's look at the three things, okay? Three things that'll get you started right now to really understanding and being able to connect and create change on those eating habits. Okay. Step one, just pause, exhale. I cannot say the word exhale without actually doing it every single time. When we take a breath, it interrupts the cycle wherever we are right now, which is often in this chaos and frenzy and go, go, go. This is the most powerful step. It slows down your nervous system. It slows down your physiology. It buys time. This pause buys time, and it gives us an opportunity to actually find out what is our perspective right now. This is also why the Family in Focus newsletter is called the Exhale. So many people are like, what is this going to be something that's about weight or habits or like with the naming? I'm like, no, it's about the exhale. It's a pause for us as parents to breathe, to set our own nervous system. And, this very important step that's been practiced the least. And so just taking a breath and another. And this is actually regulating. This is emotional regulation in real time. I love my Philly snow globe. Okay. I love it. You can see Rocky right there in front of the art museum. Can you hear the music? I can hear the music. But I think about how the snow globe is the perfect, and I'm just going to hit this again. Let me see. Can I hit it? Can I hit it? No, I'm going to hold on. I want that to go one more. There you go. All right. Our life is like that beautiful flurry all over the place. You shake up that snow globe. Hello, that is what a Wednesday looks like. And yet, those moments where we just get to pause, take a breath, it actually lets the glitter, the chaos, the dust settle to offer a clearer vision of where you are and where you want to go. This is regulation in action. And now I hear it, there's so many times that folks are like, yeah, whatever, pause. I don't want to do nothing. I got to do something here. And yet I think that that's really the lie that we've been sold in our productivity focused, like go, go, go society. And I got a real taste that, that's not a universal truth. Coming back, so let's just look at COVID, okay? Those early days of COVID, and I had 3 teens in my house suddenly on lockdown. That was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. But there was all of a sudden absolutely nothing that I could do to fix how everything had dramatically changed for my entire family. There was nothing I could do than just pause and be there, take another breath, one after another, for myself, but also with my kids. And I got to tell you, they wanted action. They wanted me to fix it. They wanted me to say something. And yet I stayed there with them because that's all that there was to do. And suddenly we were connecting in, heartfelt ways with honesty, with vulnerability, and doing the most powerful thing, which is connecting. Now, This is from one of my clients that I've been working with over the past several years. So we actually worked together. I think for the first time back in 2021. She was in one of my early groups with Family in Focus, and then she came back to work with me about a year and a half later, and she said that within that time frame, her daughter had actually developed an eating disorder. And what she found is that with the work that we had been doing, like she already had the foundation set with this approach, okay? By pausing, taking care of what it is that she needed first so that she could be in a place to be able to support her daughter. And she said that's what made all of the difference. It also was really helpful for her to be able to just stand back and recognize the patterns that she was seeing, those behaviors that she was seeing in her daughter. And she was like, hold on a minute. Let me just take a moment, pause, and then you'll see how that comes into the next step here, where she was able to recognize those behaviors. Now, why this works is again because of settling our own nervous systems. This, if we're looking at the neurobiology, we're activating our parasympathetic nervous system. It helps us just be grounded for whatever it is that our kids, who are not necessarily grounded, they are on the full roller coaster experience. Whatever they're experiencing, we can be present. Clear head, clear mind, clear heart, and then start creating that clear path. And when we slow down, we can move to step 2, which is curiosity. Specifically, getting curious about patterns. Curiosity is the most powerful emotion. It's asking, what else? What is possible? How can I? All these are open-ended questions, and looking for patterns and for opportunities. So when I think about eating habits, I start thinking about, well, what are the patterns that I'm noticing? Maybe what are the stress points around eating in the family? What's behind the meltdown or the pantry raid? Our life is completely full of patterns. Everything that we do is a pattern. And we just don't necessarily see the patterns until we take that moment to get curious, stand back just a little bit from the chaos and say, what's really going on here? What are the patterns? What's behind this? And what are the emotions? As we're talking about shifting from, okay, well, this is the food that's being eaten. Okay, what are the emotions behind these behaviors? And the thing is that the patterns are not just what we see on the outside. Those are like the eating habits, those are the actions or the behaviors. Curiosity also really extends inward so that we can really start seeing what's going on behind the scenes. So, asking yourself, what is the pattern of emotions around the dinner table? Do you notice frustration? Maybe some unspoken irritation, some strong wills? And do you notice attempts to control? Maybe what pattern of emotions do you notice around Doritos? Joy, desire, like the frenzy. Maybe there's distraction or boredom. And slowing down to see the pattern of emotions is the biggest opportunity because they explain what's really going on at the table or why we're, suddenly at the bottom of the bag of Doritos. And emotions share. Oh, it was great to have you here. Emotions share what's really going on so that we can really address it because emotions are driven by behaviors. So the patterns of emotions tell us more about why we eat than how we do anything. It's about understanding why. So when we're looking at patterns and shifting focus from, really thinking about children's weight as an issue to observing the patterns and the eating habits and who's struggling with what. This is something that my client Lindsay was sharing about how she joined in to Family in Focus and was really thinking, I need to control and fix my child's weight and eating habits. You're really thinking that her child's struggles with weight were what she needed to focus. But she noticed that actually, as she stepped back just a little bit, got curious. She's like, oh, hold on. That's actually not about her. This is more about me. This wasn't about her child. This was about her. And noticing how her child isn't having insecurities. Actually, Lindsay was. And so, what she's gaining from working together is really having a deeper understanding about her own concerns. By the way, that is emotion, her worries, her uncertainties, and insecurities about how her children were growing up. And then the real work, opportunity, let's say opportunity, is to be able to connect with emotions. You see how it's kind of woven in throughout all of the steps. Our traditional approach to feeding and growing and weight has the word management around it. And we are all feeling like we are being managed, judged, and controlled by others. It doesn't work because the more that you push, the more they push back. This applies for toddlers. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Teens, adults, absolutely me. You tell me what to do, I will tell you where to go. We all do this. The more you push, the more pushback you receive. Tell a child to eat their broccoli, and they'll say no. Tell me I have to go and exercise for an hour every day, and my inner 4-year-old comes out and says, no, you're not the boss of me. Yeah, it's normal. So we've been doing all of this pushing, but what we're missing is connection. And so, again, coming back to, okay, hold on a minute, all feelings are welcome. If that's the case, how does that apply here? And so the real work we have is like, let's just start naming what's going on. As we're getting curious, what are the emotions that are happening here? As I'm like telling my child, like, dude, just eat the broccoli. Okay, what am I feeling? What are they feeling in that moment? Because feelings aren't problems, they're just messages. They help us know what's actually going on behind the scenes and specifically what's needed. And I really see that the issue is that we just haven't developed a language around emotions. We just haven't had the practice with it. And that is the greatest opportunity because it's actually really easy. And when we start naming emotions, it diffuses the mystery of what we are feeling, of what's going on. And this, along with the pause, just gives us a moment of not pushing, away the emotion that we're feeling, not trying to stop the feeling, but to just be with it. Like, yep, this is frustration. I really think she should be eating her broccoli right now, and she does not. And just staying there because we think, well, I need to fix this feeling I have. If she just eats her broccoli, it'll be so much better. Okay. And that isn't how it's working with our children. Noted. We would love for them to change their eating habits and then we'll feel so much better. So, at Family in Focus, what we do is we openly talk about emotions. We actually play with them, not poking fun, but in ways where we explore ways to experiment with them, to become more familiar with them. That whole thing where you're like trying on the clothing and just kind of like figuring out, like, all right, I'm becoming more familiar with it. Familiarity, how do I say that? Familiarity makes it creates comfort, and comfort and practice build confidence. And as we are, continuing to practice, We learn how to truly feel emotions and come to learn that emotions tell us everything about what's actually going on behind the eating habits, behind the behaviors. And so it's not about shaming. It's not about fixing. It's about using curiosity and connection. So just building on this real briefly, okay? When we feel what's underneath, what we're actually doing is the step that we keep on thinking that everybody else needs to do first. We all want other people to change their feelings. Well, my kid should stop being so obstinate. My kid should stop being so stubborn because that'll make it easier for me. We want kids to eat from hunger, not emotions. We want our kids to stop yelling and just say what's wrong. We want emotional awareness, but we prefer that it's in them first. And so I just offer, what if the real superpower is understanding your own emotions first? If you've ever asked, why does this bother me so much? Or why am I so anxious about their eating habits, about their health? Why do I find myself overreacting when they sneak food or refuse to eat dinner? This is where you find the answer. And so this step is not about fixing emotions. It's about noticing them, yours and theirs, and hearing what those emotions are trying to tell you. So what we're actually doing in this step is you name what you feel, even when it is messy, even when it's, I'm overwhelmed and I do not want to be the adult right now. Yeah. And just staying there, naming it. This is what's going on. You learn what that feeling is trying to tell you. And maybe it's actually not about the snacks. It's not about the broccoli. Maybe it's about fear or control or guilt. And that's not bad. It's a signal. What this really helps us do is stop. I got Miley Cyrus in my head. It's like stop coming in like a wrecking ball. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. When you know what you're feeling, you can stop reacting and start connecting. And so why this is really mattering is that, if in parenting, we want to understand why our kids do what they do, why they eat the way they eat. Well, we have to start with emotions. We have to start with those feelings, but we can't skip our own. And this also helps us understand why it's so meaningful, like why it means so much to us. With the regulation that we do, the work that we do with understanding our emotions, it ripples throughout the family. And so, really, as we're looking at the skills that we need, and I'm saying we because it's not just about you, this is what I practice, this is what I need for my own family to understand and, yes, to help guide our children's habits. It's first that willingness to slow down. It's the willingness to get curious, to ask and observe without judgment, to feel, willingness to feel emotions, including the icky ones. We cannot be going around just being willing to feel happy. And the willingness to let our children feel and express their emotions, even when it's really loud. Oh my goodness. That 2-year-old flopping on the floor of Target like a fish. Yes. Yes. Letting them feel it, express it, and all feelings are welcome. It's part of the process. And then also the willingness to be the one to change first. What happens is when we do this work, we create more calm, more peace, more connection in our homes, in our relationships. We improve relationships first for ourselves, with our food, with our bodies, with each other. And then we are actually modeling what it is that we want our kids to do. I think of this as social emotional skill building for the whole family. We are learning, or rather, we are teaching our kids so much about SEL in schools right now, but they're coming home and we're like, I don't know what they're doing. Like, I was not taught to feel the feels, like, push it away. Okay, well, this is where we get to do it, to build those skills for ourselves and practice and share with our kids. We create emotionally resilient kids because we are having our own emotional resilience. Modeling what we want the kids to practice, my goodness, shame-free dining rooms, no more food fights. Yeah, SEL, thank you so much. Social emotional learning. Thank you. And this is all without the stress of having to run around to all those medical clinics, getting insurance coverage, all that kind of jazz for every different family member. And so this is where I just want to introduce you to the concept of what we do with Family Focus. It's taking all of this, all of the teachings, and then bringing it together. Okay. So what we're now doing is really looking at that social emotional skill building and stress relief that helps your entire family grow stronger in relationships with food and body and each other, so that you can create that health from the inside out. So I've had my signature program that I've been offering since 2021. And what we're now doing is expanding upon this with the Feel, Connect, Grow program. And so it is taking the signature, the 8-week course that started everything. And in addition to that, parents have access to the Emotions Lab course, which is all about the social emotional learning for us. This is adult social emotional learning. Improv for Health. Okay. By the way, I did not actually mention, I'm a little bit of an improv comedian, but it's about how we can bring the tools of improv comedy, playing, okay, experimentation, and apply it to our health. Apply the improv in our homes. And then community resources and support, and monthly group calls with me. And so it's now been expanded where it's now a full 6-month experience, because it's really working together over the course of multiple seasons, because nothing changes overnight. Our habits don't change overnight. We don't create relationships overnight. It's with practice. And so that's where we get to work together to know exactly how to, identify, name, calm your emotions, be more present with your kids, and work with them as they're doing this regulation work as well. Feel more confident in your eating habits and body image, and then being able to share that, create that ripple effect through your entire family, because you're feeling more confident modeling your behaviors as an example that you want your children to have. So inside, this is from the signature, the Family in Focus course. So just looking at some highlights about how it's bringing together a lot of aspects from positive psychology, from medicine and biology, and understanding hormones. Like, why are we always looking for food? Getting into emotions and emotional eating. And then we also dive so much further into that with the Emotions Lab course, which comes along with that. Understanding motivation. So, by the way, motivation is still all about emotions. If you ever notice, like, the things you want to do, you feel really good about, the things you don't want to do, like Monday morning dread kind of stuff. Oh, hold on a minute. That's emotions. So understanding that. We get into body image, where that comes from, how to support and how to really cultivate healthy body image for ourselves as well as for our children. And then really understanding what it means to have a relationship with your food, relationship with your body, and of course, building the really cultivating or nurturing the relationships that we share as family members. There's also bonus material in there about how to parent without bringing in diets. Emotions Matter, which is another deep dive into emotions, eating disorder prevention, and really looking at how we can do that as parents and get as far ahead, not waiting until we're seeing symptoms, but really getting as far ahead into prevention as we can. And then again, Emotions Lab, which is social emotional learning for adults. Improv Your Health, making emotional learning fun. And so other things that we're going to be, really highlighting here is, I want to make this something that is very individualized, like understanding your unique family, your unique goals. And so as a bonus with this work together, you get a deep dive call where we have 90 minutes of just direct focus to understand where you're coming from, where you want to go, and start creating that plan for our 6 months together. Also, those monthly Q&A calls. So those are actually twice monthly, and it's going to be Q&A. I think of as questions, what's coming up, application. How do I apply this to my unique life? And so there's going to be coaching conversations there. It's in community. One of the strongest things that happens in Family in Focus, one of the most powerful things, is that we get to recognize as parents that we are not alone. There's so much shame and kind of like loneliness about the struggles that we're having, and yet there's so many commonalities. And so on these calls, you may hear someone else that's like describing exactly what's going on in your home. You're like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? Is there some kind of like bugging going on here? But it's because we have shared experiences and we get to learn from each other. And you also don't need to talk every time. Like it's totally your call. You get to raise your hand. So these are just starting up right now. So these are going to be micro groups. Micro groups. You are not lost in a crowd here. You are a VIP. And all you have to do is just show up. I also think of these as like you don't have to schedule them. They are regularly scheduled. And as it stands right now, they're going to be Wednesdays at noon Eastern. You just show up. You don't have to book anything. Just come on in. And then also, so this is, again, really transitioning to this 6-month experience. And I think of this as kind of like my pilot testing. And I'm inviting you to join me with this pilot or beta testing. I want to make this such a unique experience and tailor made for you. I really truly believe that we all deserve to be treated as VIPs because, yeah, okay, having been through the military, and I retired a couple of years ago from the military, and I'm like, can somebody please just treat me like a VIP, please? I'm so tired of waiting in line and just being told, just wait your turn. No, I need help. I want to be recognized. Well, what we're doing here with that VIP approach, hey, you get 6 private sessions. Okay. And this is something that I'm making available to those that are signing up by July 15th or the first 10, because there's only so much of me to go around. So there's 6 private sessions that you get. And again, another bonus, those micro groups. So I am going to be kicking off the main program in September. Okay. What I'm actually offering right now is that those that are joining me get started right now. The 6 months doesn't actually start until September. You join now, you start now. So those micro groups, they're going to start up in July. You can start booking your individual sessions. So over the time that we work together, you have those 6 sessions and the deep dive. Now, some people come up and they're like, I just want you to tell my kid how to eat. I'm tired of being the bad cop. I want you to be the bad cop, Wendy. Yeah, that doesn't work. Me coming in and telling your kid how to eat is no different than everybody else, including you. I fully respect you. I do not have any magic powers that you don't have. So you tell a kid what to do, and they're going to tell you where to go. It's about connection, not intervention. Some folks will say connection, not correction. So, how can we connect? And so, with the total value of the courses, the programming, the VIP support, the community, it's over $6,700. But I got to tell you, this is something that is being published on our site right now for $4,300. And what I'm doing right now is really trying to look at who are my parents that want to come in and say, I am ready to do this work. I am ready to really dive in, and I want to be a part of how Family in Focus is evolving. And so that's where I am welcoming you to join me and taking another $1,000 off. And so this is, it's my thank you. It's also my birthday. Okay. So I'm just saying I'm turning 50 this year, and I'm like, it's 50% of all the things that are going on here. So what you actually get is for $3,300 building the social emotional skills that help you and your whole family. And through the seasons, working together, meeting you exactly where you are. And so I, from the bottom of my heart, believe there's never been a better time to join. And so going through everything that you get with the 6 months of access, the deep dive planning call, early access, you can start right up in July. You get those 6 private sessions. And I know there's going to be questions that will come up. There's always the question about, well, my partner is actually the one who really needs to work with you. Yeah. What about my other relationships? We talk about relationships with food and body. So what we're going to do is actually create a bonus in here where those 6 sessions that you have, you get to choose who uses those. Okay. Now, I definitely want to meet up with you for the deep dive. Okay. We got to know where we are. Okay. But you get to really figure out who will be who will benefit the most from these sessions. Now, one of the things about adolescence, okay, this is all working with the willing. And even if your child is not the willing, we can still do powerful work. Okay. And so that's something that we can discuss at the deep dive session about who you're considering would be of benefit, to utilize these sessions. And then, does this course have access to me? Bring it on. Yes, it does. What you see is what you get. So what I am actually going to switch over to another screen now. So you save 25% off of that $4,300. And I'm going to, oh, did I not do this? Okay. I see what's happening here. So I welcome any questions that you have. I know we've been answering things along the way in the chat. And what I offer is here, I don't know if you can hit that button or not. And let me, you know what? My thing is not, I am having an issue with my link. So let me just put this in. This is to be able to connect with me, to be able to say, hey, are we a good fit here? Are we a good fit? Because I want to make sure that I can answer all of your questions. I want to make